Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Knoxville Nights. I am Josh Gerlach. I am joined here by Blake Walker and Cade Higday. We finished up the first night of weekly racing at the Knoxville Raceway over the weekend. Matthew Stelzer won in his return to Knoxville after only one race in the Pro Sprints last year. Aaron Reutzel, of course, did what Aaron Reutzel does in the 360 class, and Rico Abreu won his second feature in a row in a 410 at the Knoxville Raceway. We're going to talk about all that, and then we will speak to Jamie Ball, the defending 360 champion at Knoxville Raceway. Joined us for a little bit. Talked about quite a few things, so make sure you stick around for that. First off, make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And also follow us at Knoxville Nights on Facebook and Instagram, and at Knoxville Nights with no O on X. Guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Cade, you actually were able to hit the track in two cars this weekend. One probably didn't go quite as well as you would have liked. Maybe not both. I don't know. We'll talk about it. We'll jump right into your weekend, man. You finally were able to get the 410 running. It's been a little bit of a struggle. I know you said that you got the motor back pretty late to get out there on Saturday. Start with the 410 and then walk us through your night, man.
Yeah, Mike went and picked the 410 up Saturday morning. He got a text at 4:30 on Friday that the motor was done and that it was ready to be picked up. So he went and got that Saturday morning and got that all put in and showed up to the racetrack. We hadn't fired it yet. Kind of just figured everything was normal like it usually is. Fired the car, and one of the nozzle lines had a big old hole in it. So we had to hunt down a nozzle line. Ended up getting one, but wasn't able to make it out for hot laps, which is not great for me. Obviously, I don't have a whole plethora of laps in the 410, so that would have been nice to have a couple extra. But just really struggled in qualifying. Just had no grip, and I think we were like 14th or something in our group, which just, buries you for the entire night. Heat race wasn't too bad. I mean, obviously you want to run up better, but started 7th and ran 8th, I think. And coming to the checkered, I lost the brakes. So stopped on the racetrack, got pushed back to the pit area. Thought we got it fixed for the B. Actually found some speed in the B. We tried some different things with the car and kind of got it working to where I could actually drive it and get past some race cars. And I thought we had a decent little chance to make it to the transfer there. And again, just lost brakes on the car and decided to pull it in instead of junking somebody else's car and junking Mike's as well. So
well, you didn't pull it in. You parked it in turn 2 next to the gate and waved to all the fans at the Dennis Allbaugh building. I look up, I'm like, wow, Cade's getting a great view of this feature from turn 2 where he's just sitting.
Yeah, I was just hanging out with all my friends down there.
Was there anybody right by the fence?
There was 20 people standing there just like, what's this guy doing? They're all like waving at officials, and by the time the officials even see it, there's like the white flag's already out, and they're like, there's no point throwing a yellow now.
I didn't see it until the checkered. I'm like, has Cade been sitting over there?
Yeah, I sat there for like 7 laps.
Oh, man.
I thought it took a little bit to get you back to your pit. I kept looking down like, he's not there yet. Figure something happened, I guess.
360, you qualify 5th. The first lap had me worried. It was a little slow, and I was like, all right, here we go. You jump up to 5th, which you went second to last group. You were late in 360 qualifying, weren't you?
Yeah, we were the 29th car to 30.
Yeah. Talk about the track. Well, let's go. So heat race, 5th to 6th, feature 9th to 10th. I said on my recap, I swear you were everywhere. Like I'd look up, you were back in certain position, then you got back up. So talk about your night, and then talk about the track a little bit for an April show, and kind of talk about where the cushion was, because the cushion wasn't right up by the wall. I mean, you had a little bit of fluff to work with.
Yeah, qualifying was kind of weird. Normally the bottom doesn't burn in, and it did this week, which was good for me going out super late. A lot of guys kind of missed the boat that the bottom was in, and I watched Reutzel go bottom and go quick time. So that kind of gave me the green light to just go run the bottom. And yeah, like you said, that first lap, I missed the bottom as big as I possibly could. And I think we were like 11th or 12th quick or something, which just wasn't going to work. But yeah, that second lap, I stuck it pretty good and got a good lap out of it. And yeah, the heat race, we missed the setup by a mile and just kind of was hanging on to survive, you know. I didn't realize that we had lost a spot. I didn't realize we were even in 6th. Like, it was just a a big ball of cars in front of us with Jamie and Clint and Jason Martin. Well, I ended up catching up to Martin, and I was like, not really too pressing to pass him because I didn't think I really had to. And then we get done, and I realize he was in 5th. I look up at the board, and I'm like, oh, no. So that kind of set me back right away for the feature. Started 9th and just did not get a good start. I missed the bottom, again, as big as I possibly could. And I think we fell back to like 14th or 15th there and just kind of rode around for a while and finally got tired of running back that far and just put it up against the wall and somehow didn't crash it. I definitely tried a couple times. But yeah, it all ended up working out. And obviously we would have liked to run a little bit better, but a top 10 to start the year is a lot better than where we started last year. I think we ran like 17th or something on opening night. So much better start, I would say. We were in the shop today and found a couple of things that we definitely didn't intend to do on the race car that definitely hindered our performance a little bit, I'd say. So yeah, excited to get back here next weekend and hopefully do a little bit better.
And when you look at the point standings too, like we could touch on this a little bit with Jamie too. For running for 360 points, a 10th, not what you probably wanted, to start the season. However, from a points perspective, it's not like you're set back crazy far. It like you said, you're not 17th like you were last year. Don't know if that helps make things feel a little bit better or not, but ultimate goal is to finish well, go for that championship at the end of the season.
Yeah, and it definitely helps. Well, it doesn't really help, but on the bad nights like we had, it helps that there's some double duty guys that jump in and don't race for the actual like championship points. I mean, they still get them for the night, and you still get wherever you finish, you still get that amount of points. But basically, like in the top 10, I think there was 4 or 5 cars that aren't even in the 360 points. So that helps me out a lot, and yeah, definitely helps Jamie out. He's obviously a little bit more of a contender than I would consider myself, but yeah, no matter what, we just all got to get a little bit better. I like it that the 87 car comes and just absolutely mud stomps us like he normally does. Humbles you real quick.
I think it's the mullet that's given that extra, even a little bit more speed this year. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
He looks like the guy from The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I'd say that's pretty close. But yeah, I don't know how to follow that up. That caught me way off guard.
Got Blake speechless. There you go.
I was not expecting that. Okay, we're gonna jump right into our pro sprints here. We're gonna move right along. I hope Aaron watches this.
I've been giving him all kinds of grief about it.
All right, let's talk about pro sprints, guys. 20-car field jumping into our season opener. It's got to be one of our bigger fields we've had. I think I said it at the top of the show last night, but it sure did feel like one of the bigger that we've seen. Matthew Stelzer picks up his 3rd career season opening win, extended his 305 Pro Series win record to 17. That is the most all time. Devin Kline, who finished second to him, has 15 wins. What a finish, man. I mean, it sure seemed like there were some restart games being played. A couple guys were trying a couple things, slowing the field down, trying to get jumps. They had that restart with 2 to go, and Matthew just nailed it. I mean, he nailed the middle and he stayed in the middle pretty much all night long. And they raced each other clean. It's kind of hard to see from the booth in turn 3, but it seemed like Matthew tried to pinch him, but still gave Devin room. And then Matthew went high or kind of slipped up, and I was like, oh, he's going up to the top. Is he going to be able to save it? Because he'd lost the lead earlier from that and was able to hold him off, and Matthew Stelzer picks up the win. But 2 guys, a lot of respect for each other. Sure sounds like they have a lot of respect for each other, Cade. And you can't ask for better than that, what we saw last night in terms of Pro Series, which the finishes have been great, but those are just 2 veterans going after it. Doesn't get any better than that.
No, that was a great race to watch. I actually didn't get to watch it till this morning when I woke up. But yeah, Devin and Matthew were definitely racing tight, but not dirty. I wish a lot of people would watch that race and realize that you can do it without crashing each other. But yeah, that was one of the best Pro Series races that I've seen here in a long time. That coming down to the checkered and just like head to head, toe to toe, it was really cool to see. I hope that makes the fans kind of realize that this class is definitely not just a night filler.
Passerby.
Yeah, exactly. They put on a pretty good show.
And I mean, you look at guys like yourself and Jamie, you know, you got to start somewhere, and it may not be as lucrative as a lot of people would like. But like I said, you got to start somewhere. And we've seen guys like you and Jamie that have come out of that class and have had success in the 360 and 410s. And, you know, you never know which of those guys are going to be the next ones to go off and have a lot of success. And you can't, sprint cars at Knoxville, you're going to get a pretty damn good show. Most every race that you see, and the Duncans, when they give a track like they did again on Saturday night, it was great. Yep. Can't really complain.
Was a great track, good surface. They go first, obviously, so it kind of sets the tone. Some nights that'll change. I assume 360 will sometime go first, but just kind of how it works out.
Wasn't
not
great
a good
for somebody. Yeah.
What's up?
I was going to say it wasn't a great night for everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't a great night for somebody. Your defending champion, Mike Mayberry, just didn't have the night he was looking for. Engine troubles, sounds like, in qualifying, just kind of put him behind the 8-ball. I don't think Mike's ever been a great qualifier. I think he'd even tell you that. Makes up his ground in the features and whatnot, but just does not have a good night. Was it his heat race that he wrecked in, or was it the feature wrecked in? I think it was the heat race, because I remember the sun was out. I don't know why I remember that. The sun was out during that.
He didn't make the feature, from what I recall. So, yeah rough night.
So definitely not the best night for Mike Mayberry. A couple guys that did have good nights. Rob Kubley had really good speed. His heat race, he was flying. Overheated in the feature, unfortunately, had to pull in. Evan Jones goes 12 plus in the feature, which is awesome. We were talking about it before we got going, but Josh Jones put on a show, just ripping the top of the racetrack. I know Brody Johnson had a top 10. I mean, just a really solid night all around. And I was going to ask you, Cade, I don't know if you went back and watched the full broadcast, but Toby Mosier goes quick time, was also fastest in practice the night before. So good, strong speed for Toby Mosier. Apparently, he was on the pace laps. He's just steering the car, just driving around. And all of a sudden, it pulls off, and steering wheel comes clean off of the steering pinion, if you will. And he's pointed to the inside wall during pace laps, and they pull him in, and Skip Jackson runs over and hands him the spare steering wheel. How's that happen, Cade? How's the steering wheel come off how does the steering wheel come off?
So the quick connect hub is only held on by 3 bolts, and from my understanding, 2 of the 3 bolts fell out. So it was just basically the steering wheel was just spinning in a circle around the quick release.
It's probably a pretty uncomfortable feeling when even just idling around. And
because realistically, I mean, that could have happened under green.
Absolutely.
So that's what we were saying in the booth. He's so lucky it didn't happen under green. I wish I could have seen it live, because I'm going to assume it just comes right off, and then the car just just points left, and you got to stay on the brakes. But Toby comes all the way back for a 5th place finish, which was awesome to see. So really good speed out of him early. He's not on our little sheet here, but Jake Kinder, solid. 3rd. I just keep thinking about last year, man. That one bad, I think he had 1 or 2 bad weeks, and even he himself said it. If I didn't have those 2 bad weeks, he would have won the championship. And it's the Jake Kinder special. You're not going to start very toward the front, but man, he gets that car rolling and he flies, man. I mean, it's just, he's so fast on long runs that if you get long runs, you're like, here comes Jake Kinder. Especially with Mike Mayberry's issues. Obviously, Matthew Stelzer very strong. Devin Kline, I don't know if he's going to run full points, but Jake Kinder put himself in a really good spot last night, would you say?
I think we could see, we kind of got a preview. If Devin runs the full season, I think we got a preview of the championship race right there. The guys that were on the podium. It's we've already seen how good they are in the past. You got the top 2 guys in wins, running 1-2. And Kinder, I don't recall where he's at, but he's up there as well. Enough said, in my opinion. I think until somebody else can show consistently that they can beat those guys, it's going to come down to them. Especially with Mayberry, it's a big hole to start the season off with.
Mayberry's only saving grace at this point is the fact that those engines have a lot of electronics that happen to go wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it's the way it's kind of the format, kind of not, but you're going to have different guys up front every week, just where they start. I mean, I always know that when it comes to formats, and when Bill Wright hands us the starting lineup sheet, I'm like, all right, here's who we got this week. It's like, and it's just a matter of, okay, who has a really good car that can come from the back. I'm sure Evan Jones would love a better starting position, and they're going to really work toward that as the night goes on.
Big field, bigger point spread too. Something to keep in mind too. Yep. Bad nights get magnified even more. That's another tick, unfortunately, for Mike.
I just love it because it's a lot of Iowa guys, but there's a couple guys from out of state that come and run pro sprints. And like you said, Cade, it's not a passerby series. Like, people watch, and I think people enjoy it. And last year, like, one of our best finishes, the Matt Allen and Mike Mayberry one, the World of Outlaws feature cut to our race at Knoxville because they were doing track prep. So everybody got to see this pro sprint race, and it was this awesome race. So yeah, it's awesome. I'm happy for the Pro Series, and hopefully just every single week keeps getting better and better. Our first ever official night of the Randall Roofing 360 Sprint Car Series. I don't think I ever failed not to say the name because I was so worried I was going to miss saying the name. Between that and the Quality Traffic Restart Cone, or the Quality Traffic Control Restart Cone.
See, you're already messing
up. That wrong too. For those that don't know, it's Scott's Quality Construction. It is not Scott's Quality Control. I have it in all caps now. I went and fixed it today. 30 cars for the Randall Roofing 360 Sprint Car Series. A lot of guys running double duty. Aaron Reutzel runs away with the show. Wins qualifying. Yeah, he won qualifying. Quick time in qualifying, I think almost 0.3 faster than Jamie. I mean, just unbelievable. He went from 6th to 1st in his heat race, and then goes from 4th to 1st in his feature. 16th career win in his first opening night 360 win. I think a lot of people, Cade, just start asking, this is the point. It's kind of like if you watch NASCAR, when Kyle Busch would always win the second series, like the Busch series or the Nationwide series. Everyone's like, man, why does he keep doing this? Like, what is he gaining from this? But if you're Aaron Reutzel, why not hop in a fast race car? Winning's fun.
Well, that, and he makes money when he does it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he had one of those typical Aaron dominating nights last night. Super cool to see. Obviously, it sucks to watch him be that fast, but it is cool to see. We all know how tough that 360 field is, and he just makes it look super easy, which is a big testament to how fast their car is and how good they are every single time they show up.
Yeah, absolutely. If he ever wanted to, when he got older and say he's won all he needed to win, he could come back and win 360 points, maybe by a record margin if he's in that 87 car. Yeah, really cool to see for Aaron. Walks away with the victory. We'll talk about qualifying in a second. Tasker Phillips, we talked about there, led for a little bit. When it was about to go to green, I turned to Tony. I'm like, we're going to get Tasker versus Aaron Reutzel. I was like, this is exactly what we want to see. And Tasker ran it on the top, and it feels like that's Tasker's way to go. But really good speed out of Tasker here early, Josh. Very impressive. I think he's only got one career 360 win, which is just insane to me. He's going to pick up a couple more this year, wouldn't you say, if they keep running it?
I think so. I mean, he showed that he's fast, and I think even he would admit that he's always been one that is not scared to stand on the loud pedal and put it on the fence, and that might be why he hasn't won a few more races over the years, especially early on. But yeah, he really held his own there early on in the race. He did catch the fence, and I thought that was going to be it down the front stretch. I don't remember what lap it was, kind of early on, and got a little bit more space between him and Aaron. But then they got to lap traffic, and that 87 was surgical through lap traffic, immediately. And we'll kind of allude to this, the 410 race with Rico, kind of saw a little bit of a similar thing. But, man, I think a lot of it, and Cade, maybe you can speak to it a little bit here too, these guys are so used to being at the top of the top, competition level. When you get in lap traffic, that is where the races are won and lost. And Aaron and I would say Rico, they won those races last night or Saturday night in lap traffic, and it showed, especially in the 360, because once they got to traffic, he was gone.
Yeah, excuse me. Absolutely. Aaron's just an absolute menace in lap traffic. Like, if you're leading a race and Aaron's in the top three, you know that you have to get through traffic or he's going to just drive right by you like you're standing still. I don't know exactly how he does it. I've watched a lot of videos on, like, trying to figure out exactly how he does it, and I just think their car's that good that it's hard to say exactly what they're doing because like obviously it's very hard to see just looking from the outside in. But yeah, as soon as he gets to lap traffic, that thing is just like 20 miles an hour faster than everybody else. And out in clean air, he's impossible to beat.
And with somebody that's running the 410, we've talked. That's kind of a theme of tonight's show. I'd say is we've kind of touched on 410, 360, jumping back and forth. Does that contribute? You know, you've kind of talked about it. We'll hear from Jamie a little bit later. The speed difference going from a 410 to 360. How much does that contribute to being able to give you a little bit more time making those decisions, even though there's still split second decisions in how you're going to approach a lap car.
It makes a huge difference, especially at the level that Aaron's at. He's racing for high limit World of Outlaw wins, obviously racing with the best in the world, and that just makes you that much sharper. And then you go down to the 360 deal, and it's not like the competition's that much easier, but it's just a little bit slower for him and just gives him that much more time to kind of play out his plan and make his maneuvers in lap traffic like we see him do. And that's just why he's that much harder to beat every week.
Makes me wish, like we talked about last week, Blake, you mentioned it, that if Kyle Larson were to run the 360 Nationals, God, that would be a fun one to watch. Guys like him, Reutzel, Rico, Brown.
Right. And that was the thing, he was so good last year as well in 360, won the 360 Nationals the year before, but then all of a sudden Tyler Courtney comes in, who had never runs a 360, and beats him straight up, and I think that was one of the surprising factors for myself. So everything changes. I mean, when fall comes around, leaves start changing a little bit when it comes to Nationals time. Everybody brings their best stuff. Not everybody shows their cards this early in the season. We'll talk about that with Rico here in a little bit. You bring up a good point, Cade, and you piqued my interest. You talk about, you watch film sometimes just to kind of study. Do you watch film on lap traffic? Because Knoxville lap traffic and how to navigate lap traffic, it's not like there's many other ways that haven't already been figured out on how to navigate, whether that be a diamond line, whether that be you slide yourself, whatever. Is that a thing? Like, do you watch film and say, okay, you never know what a guy's going to do when you go into a corner, but have you thought in your mind and have you studied how to get around certain situations?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like the better you get and like the more laps you get and the more comfortable you get, you kind of have more time to think about like a plan A and a plan B. Like if the lap car does this, I can do this, but if he does something else, I have another way that I think I can get around him. And yeah, it's really tough. But like if you go back and watch video, I think the biggest thing is like especially guys like Aaron, when they catch the lap car, if you go back a half a lap or even a full lap, you can kind of see what they're thinking before they get to the lap car. And that's the hardest thing to try to pinpoint. It's crazy how good Aaron is at getting through lap traffic. And I don't think there's another car at Knoxville 360 or 410 that gets through lap traffic like he does.
Dude, he'd never do it, but maybe we get some glasses, we put a lab coat on him, and we do lap traffic 101. And you put a whiteboard up, and it's like, here's how I get through lap traffic. And it's just boom. That's here's plan A, here's plan B. I just think that would be so cool.
With the mullet flowing, that would be glorious.
You don't want to give away all your secrets, but lap traffic 101, you're in this situation. What are you going to do here? We're not a bull ring. Lap traffic is different. Most of the time you'll see guys get stuck behind lap traffic, but it's not like for 3 laps like you see. But it's amazing how much time you lose on lap traffic at the Knoxville Raceway. So really cool. Congratulations to Aaron Reutzel once again. JJ Hickel, great run in the 63 car, 4th quick in qualifying, solid in his heat race, and then a top 5 finish in his feature. Not bad at all. I know a lot of people were looking forward to the 2M and how he would do in that. He didn't do too bad, but very strong speed in the 63. I hope he runs double duty all year. I don't see why he wouldn't. And then speaking of qualifying, we had a new qualifying. So hot laps are no longer separate for our 360s. To me, Cade, it just felt like qualifying, but you didn't get hot laps. So from a driver's perspective, what did you think of it your first night going in? And how did it really work out for you? And do you like that being your first laps on the track of the night? And be honest, be candid with us here.
I will, very gladly. I'm not a huge fan of that being the first laps on the racetrack. I I said it even when I was racing the Pro Series. I think it's kind of silly that they don't get hot laps either, especially that being the quote-unquote beginner class. That should be the class that needs the most laps, in my opinion. But, yeah, not a huge fan of no hot laps because I use that for my race car. I like to try a couple things, and, like, if it doesn't work, you change it back and you go qualify on what you normally do. But there's a lot of times that you can learn things in hot laps. Obviously, the first group of hot laps, which is like the first group on the racetrack, usually for the 360s, the way they had been doing it, you don't learn a whole lot there, but you can still try a couple little things and know pretty quickly if it's going to work or not. So it's kind of a disadvantage to lose that, I feel like, but it just kind of gets you to the point where, and it showed this weekend, I feel like, the guys that are fast out of the box are still going to qualify good and still have a decent night. So I don't really think it changes a whole lot, but it definitely takes away from teams trying things, I feel like, because now you're not going to be able to try it without being scared.
Yeah.
And I don't. You can comment as much as you'd like, Blake. I don't want you to put yourself in a weird position here, but from my perspective, as not a part of a team, not a racer, or anything like that, I like the thought of it. I like the idea where we're trying to speed up the program because we all know what it can be like, especially in April. If you're at the racetrack until 11 midnight, it could get pretty cold, pretty late. I'm with you, Cade, that I don't know how much I like your practice also directly impacting your starting positions and things like that in a race. I think at that point you're probably better off just drawing and give your 4 laps or whatever in hot laps, and then it's a random draw. A lot of tracks, especially 360s, don't qualify throughout the country anyway. So Knoxville's kind of an outlier in that aspect. I don't hate it by any means. I'm also, like I said, not a driver or a team. But that's kind of my 2 cents. I think I like where it's coming from. I just wonder if maybe it could be tweaked just a little bit to be a little bit more fair, because if you go out, you're the very first car that hits the track in the first hot lap session, track can change, be super greasy in the beginning, and if you have 35 cars, even more when it gets closer to Nationals time. I don't know if they would change it for when we get close to doing qualifying for the Nationals. Track can change quite a bit when you have 35 cars running 4 laps at a time. And like in your instance this past weekend, could be a really good advantage for someone like you going out late with a track that's burned in a little bit. So that's what I think.
I think for me, it's like I told you just a few minutes ago. For me, it just felt like qualifying, just normal qualifying. Like in my mind, you just throw out, you're like, okay, they would have hot lap, but it felt like calling it was hot laps. Selfishly, like that's a lot of talking in a short amount of time for me, because it's 3 cars. I mean, Tony gets 2 cars, gets a little bit of a breakage. For me, it's you're out on the track, read every sponsor, lap time. It's also awkward to read 3 lap times. I like just reading 2. You're either better on your second lap or you're better on your first. And it was weird, the guys that were better on their 3rd lap, because it just feels weird. You're like, man, usually qualifying is your 2 best laps, and a 3rd lap, it's like, realistically, everyone should be better on their 3rd lap because you guys can't see the times as you're going, but you're like, okay, this felt good. And I've always been the thought process of, even when I do it on iRacing, you run the bottom 1 lap on qualifying and see what happens, and then you run the top on the 2nd lap and just see if it's even better. But yeah, when you do all that qualifying, and it'll just get more and more cars, and then we have a very short opening ceremonies, and then I jump right into pro sprint heat races. There's a lot of talking for me in a very short amount of time. But yeah, will there be tweaks to it? Maybe. Was there opposition to it in the drivers' meeting?
Not really that I could hear. I know there was a couple people up front and center talking to McCoy, but I was in the back and couldn't really hear what they were saying. But nothing was really brought up about it from McCoy's standpoint anyway, as far as like people asking questions about it or anything at the drivers' meeting. I know there's a lot of drivers that have kind of the same feelings that I do about it. They don't love it. But, I mean, we're all on board for trying new things. I don't know that it really sped the show up that much, so I don't know if they'll stick with that exact format of doing it. And like Josh was saying, maybe they'll make some tweaks to it. But, yeah, it's the same for everybody, honestly. Yeah, it's no different for anybody else, and nobody really has an advantage on anything that way, I don't think.
Right.
Us guys that kind of run the 410 and 360 double duty have a little bit just because we're on the racetrack before just the regular 360 guys. But other than that, I mean, it's still everybody gets the same experience, I feel like.
It's not an enviable position to be in either. It's easy to critique and say you should do it this way, that way.
Right.
But when it comes to actually making those decisions and it impacts everything that goes on down there, there's a lot of things to consider.
And the thought process is that in July, before the Nationals get back going, it will go back to its normal one. I'd like to see it go back, especially for the $10,000 night, the night that the big money's on the board. I'd like hot laps to come back, just because it's big, and I think the track was worn out. Because Cade, not many times. I don't think you guys ever went last for qualifying last year. Like the 360s went last. I think 410s always went last. Did they not for qualifying? Yep. So like when I was talking to Tony Ross, his opinion, he likes running the top. He likes it when it's a more worn out track. So he liked it because he was like, okay, track's a little bit more worn in. And that's another thing I was thinking. The lap times were significantly slower. I mean, you could just tell. And I was looking at Joe Beaver's track record, and I'm like, man, if we stay like this, we ain't ever going to be here. Shout out Joe Beaver. He wasn't there last night. I was thinking of him. But, I mean, the track was slow, I mean, for your guys qualifying.
Yeah, it was really slow. And that was kind of like the deciding factor to even run the bottom in qualifying. I'm the same way as Tony Ross. I like to rip the lip and let that thing sing a song. But we were sitting in staging, and my dad showed me the Dirt Vision broadcast on his phone, or actually it was Maggie. My dad was standing there telling me what Reutzel did. But Reutzel went bottom and went quick time. So that kind of made my decision. And then that second lap, I looked up and saw we were on the board. So I said, hell with it, and went and let it sing for one lap.
That's awesome.
Love it.
We'll see what happens in the next coming weeks. Some things will be changed around. Format will be changed up a little bit, but Knoxville always looking to improve, always looking to make the experience better for the fans. That's first and foremost, always. We'll just kind of play with it as it goes. Your 410 Sprint Car Series, 39 cars. That was the most in the country. You heard it here first. That was the most in the country. We beat out Port Royal. We beat out Hobstadt. That Knoxville is the place to be. I told Tony that, and his eyes like lit up. He's like, oh. So I think Tony even threw a jab at World of Outlaws on the broadcast. He's like, this is the number one spot to race this weekend with 39 cars.
It is the
capital.
capital.
Shout out to, yeah, it was a fun week. Scott Boguski goes quick time. I was surprised. I was very happy for Scott. He just edges out Rico for overall quick time. Brian Brown was fastest in qualifying for group number 2. They split the groups. It was going to be hard to top anyway, but Brownie got up there. I think would have been a 15.4 was what Boguski ran. I think Brownie ran a 15.6, which wasn't bad. Shout out Scott Boguski, guys. I know his feature really didn't go the way he wanted to, but he went out middle of the pack, I'm pretty sure, in his qualifying. And for how fast Rico has been, that's a good start for that team.
Yeah, it is for sure. I wouldn't really say that I was surprised to see Scott go that quick. Was I surprised to see him go faster than Rico? Yes.
Same.
Rico's just on the Kyle Larson level right now. But yeah, Scott's a great qualifier, and he's always been really good at Knoxville. So I really wasn't super shocked that he was that fast. Like I said, I was a little bit shocked that he was faster than Rico just because Rico's on a tear right now. But yeah, super impressive by Scott. And yeah, the feature obviously didn't go the way he wanted to. But still a good night, I feel like, for him. And I feel like that's one of the first 4 or 5 nights in that car. So they'll definitely build on that and definitely put on a show here coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'd almost guarantee it.
And he's shown he can rip around the Knoxville too. So I would not be surprised to see that 78 car up front, especially after, like you said, beating out Rico. That's no small task, even if it is only just qualifying.
Yeah.
Rico was only held down for qualifying because in his heat race, he goes from 6th to 1st, made it look easy. He and what Ricky Warner have got figured out is just amazing. And I brought up, do you show all your cards this early in the season? Well, if they're showing cards, they're showing the field, hey, guess what? We are the team to beat right there with Kyle Larson. Was it you, Josh, that put the poll out? Do Did you put the poll out? Would you take Rico or Larson?
Nope.
In the Nationals? Somebody, or maybe it was Eric Arnold. I can't remember.
I think it was.
Somebody put a poll out, and I'll ask you guys right now. Who are you taking for the Nationals? Today, Rico, Larson, or the field?
You go, Cade.
Not the field. I'll tell you that.
Well, you got to pick one. What do you...
Well, at this point, flip a quarter between Larson and Rico. I don't think either one's a bad pick. I personally can't pick either one.
I think it's easy. I'm going to go out on a big limb, and I'm taking the 57.
Yeah, okay. I am
because he was about a half a lap away from driving right by Rico at the Outlaw race.
Has driven through the field. Like,
yeah.
Rico, where did Rico start last week? Second, third? Still takes a lot. Yeah. And that's tough. Larson came from 9th.
Yep.
Larson keeps coming from deep, I swear, in these whenever he gets here to Knoxville. Obviously, when he's started on the front row of the Nationals, it's a given. But, I was thinking about it the other day when I saw that, and, we talked about it. Rico winning the Nationals would be unbelievable. It'd be up there top 5 national wins of all time. But then you look at Kyle Larson, and you're like, we just need to accept the fact that we are in the midst of what Donnie Schatz did and just kept winning and winning and winning. The Nationals kept winning the Nationals and stinking up the show because it's going to get to the point. If Larson wins it again this year, the Boo Birds will be coming out. And it's just a matter of, they hate to see you win. And it's come to that point where the 57 is so good. And we'll talk about it at, he wins Jacksonville and whatnot, but I love Rico, but I would still take Paul Sylvia in the 57. And I think Larson somehow, I feel like Larson qualifies better, even though I'd say they're pretty even when it comes to qualifying. Larson has figured out qualifying. He said they went to the engine dyno in the offseason, got that figured out, which that's scary.
That's terrifying.
But, but Rico's got it figured out. I will say, again, late in the going of the, last night, it wasn't easy. Aaron caught him quickly in lap traffic. We talk about Aaron Reutzel. Rico got stuck behind Tasker and almost lost it off turn 2. Like, Tasker came off the wall and Rico had to go crazy. And then Rico slipped off 4. Rico did not leave the bottom. Like, he was glued to the bottom, and Reutzel just kept flying on the top. A couple more laps, I think Reutzel might have gotten there. So I was going to ask you, Cade, because Rico said it last week when Larson was behind him. You can hear when a guy's behind you. You obviously don't have mirrors, but do you ever, in a race car, say, okay, I think I hear him on the top, so I'm going to migrate to the top? Or is it just, I'm going to stick where I'm at. If it works, it works. And then if I get past, then I go upstairs. What's that thought process like? Because you can't look back, but you can hear. So, what's that like?
It's a decision you have to make kind of split second. It's same thing, flip a quarter. You either go to the top and it works, or you stay on the bottom and you get past, or it can go either way. I guess the biggest thing is, like, if you've had a couple laps where you can run either line opposite of what you're doing, like say you're running the bottom and you run the top for 2 or 3 laps and then you go back to the bottom, that helps make your decision a lot easier. But like if you're on the bottom for 18 laps and it's 2 to go and you can hear Reutzel outside of you and you're debating going to the top, I don't know that that's really the best decision.
Can you psych yourself out too? Have you ever been in that position that you psych yourself out when you might be running really well, like in that scenario, running really well, pounding the bottom, and then you think you hear somebody up top, so you try to go up and move and block them or something like that?
Yeah, I've done it several times, and honestly, I psych myself out a lot because I'll be like, yeah, I went to the top because I thought I heard somebody up there, and they were like, no, there was nobody around you. But yeah, especially the 410, they're a little bit louder when you're racing. You can definitely hear cars a lot easier. So you know that he definitely heard Reutzel up there because Reutzel was on the hammer.
Oh my gosh, he's flying. Austin McCarl was flying. I don't know. Yeah, we'll talk about Austin McCarl. We'll talk about him in a second. Ryan Tim, Scott Boguski, tough breaks for them. Scott Boguski loses it in, I think, just by himself in turn 3 and 4. Gets caught up. Chase Randall, nowhere to go. The Kerry Madsen bad luck has struck Chase Randall in 2025. I believe that is now 11 features in his 410 competition this year and just 2 top 10s. It has just not been his year. And I hope it doesn't deter him from racing on tours, as much as I love having him at Knoxville. But It just hasn't been a good start. And I think it's just kind of growing pains. And hopefully we get to have him on the podcast soon, because I'd love to chat with him about that. I think that'd be pretty cool. But just a tough break for Chase Randall. And then Ryan Timms' rear axle comes right off the car. And somehow, some way, it broke on the straightaway and not in the corner. And he saved himself, because it was the left rear. We saw what a left rear blown looks like last week for Dason Pursley. So, Kate, I'd say Ryan Timms got lucky, and a rare lucky, of breaking the car like that on the back straightaway.
Yeah, I got very lucky he was going straight. Like you said, we saw what happens with Dason, and it's not pretty. Dason really got lucky with what happened to him, and yeah, it's always scary when things break or fall off on your car, which that one definitely broke. We saw the picture of it. But yeah, he got very fortunate that he was going straight and not getting into the corner and then backs it into the wall like we saw happen to Dason.
Same thing with Landon Crawley and Sawyer Phillips. That was I thought that was going to be a big one as well, and I don't know how they both did not crash big time, and they both kept going.
We up in the boot, we couldn't believe it. From that perspective, I think it was Sawyer. I mean, he's pointed to the inside wall, and you're like, oh, this is going to be so bad. And was it Crawley that got in the air? Like, almost all four tires were off the ground. And you're like, dude, I mean, one of the biggest, what could have been, should have been wrecks. I cannot believe they saved that. And is there skill in that, Cade? Is there skill in saving that, or is it just, I got lucky? It landed on all fours, because I mean, what can you do in that moment?
There's a little bit of skill and a whole lot of luck on that.
What were you going to say, Josh?
I was just going to say, and both of those things, including Tasker and then Dason in the Outlaw event too, it's at the fastest part of the racetrack and some of the fastest, times during the night too. The track's still juiced up pretty good in the heat races. So very, very fortunate in all those cases that, it wasn't any worse.
This got my heart going. I was very excited to see the Madman up front. Kerry Madsen, it's good to see the 55 running well, man.
Absolutely.
I talked to him before the race, saying I liked watching his podcast with Wade. I don't know if any of you saw it, but I think so. Wade and I are going to have a talent show before the Nationals every night, and Kerry has agreed to. He hates pill draws, so the winner of the talent show, one of the nights, they're going to get a lot of stuff, but they're going to get to pill draw for Kerry Madsen for the Nationals because Kerry doesn't like doing pill draw. So it's going to be cool if the person draws a great number, but if they don't, they're probably not going to want to show their face again around Kerry Madsen. But anyway, Kerry starts second. The first restart, before we had the wreck with Scott Boguski, I don't know if Rico just didn't go. I thought Kerry was going to get penalized, but Kerry jumps way out on the first restart. The caution happens. Not as good, but boy, he hit that thing singing on the top of the racetrack. I don't know if you guys could see it, but there was fire coming out of that thing near the headers. I thought he was blown up for sure. And I'm like, don't do this right now. Ran the top a lot. And then halfway through in traffic, he switched and he went down to the bottom, and it lost him time. And I don't think the car was the same. I don't know if something happened, but either way, good night for Kerry Madsen. Much needed. And if he's going to truly run for points this year, that's exactly the night he has to have.
Yep. Somebody may have made a good choice in picking him for the championship. We'll see how that comes out at the end of the season. But yeah, it was, like I said last week, when Kerry's running well at Knoxville, it's always a show. It's great for the action on the track. And it reminded me a lot of Reutzel the week before. Looking really, really strong early, and then getting about 7 to go, just fading. And I mentioned it, I think maybe earlier in this segment too. Rico got to traffic, and it was just like, see you later. Just completely separated himself until Aaron and Austin slowly started reeling him in. But I do think that Kerry's going to be a force every week, especially when some of these invaders aren't coming in. And we get a really good look at what our weekly field is going to look like.
Well, and I was going to ask you, Cade, we talked about dirty air last week, which you had a good explanation about it. Do you set cars up for dirty air, or is it just, once you get in dirty air, you either get away from it or whatnot? Is it possible that Kerry's car just wasn't, because he really started slipping when they caught lap traffic. Obviously, you can get caught in bad lap traffic lanes, but is setting a car up for dirty air a thing?
Yeah, for sure. I know, like, even myself personally, we set our stuff up a lot different when we start on the front row than if we start, like this weekend, we started ninth. There's definitely a little bit different setup factor that goes into it, and when you set your car up to run out in the front, you're really praying for yellows. But I don't know for sure on Madman. I know a couple times when I was watching, we were watching right on the front stretch, and I watched him one time climb it and rode the front stretch wall with his right front all the way to the flag stand. I don't know if he messed something up doing that or what, but yeah, like you said, just definitely lost his speed somewhere.
Talked about Aaron Reutzel, but we had him here on our notes. A second place finish. Dude is so good. And Mike Roberts said it. If it wasn't for a dang rock in Las Vegas, who knows what could have happened. Obviously, the engine wasn't good after that anyway, so it probably wouldn't have been a good night. But a lot of people will circle that and be like, man, what could have, would have, should have. Reutzel will compete for a high limit championship. I think they can make that ground up. He's going to win several races with high limit. I don't really know how that'll work for 410 points at the race at the Knoxville Raceway, because I know they go to Texas next week, so I don't think he can be here next week. But very impressed with what Aaron Reutzel puts together. They get that new Power Plus car and they wrap the trailer, and it's just looking faster and faster. Very cool. Good run for Aaron Reutzel. Austin McCarl was moving forward late in the race. Looks good. I was worried. There were some parts early in the race. I'm like, whoa, Austin's a little bit slower here. And then something came alive. And I keep thinking back to what you said, Cade, is Austin's the mechanic. I mean, that's his car. So he knows what he wants in his race car, and clearly had something set up for later in the run that he could have something to build on. And I mean, dude, he's going to win one of those big races this year. It just feels like it's coming based off the speed that he brought here in week one.
Yeah, I told you, now that he's got Scotty with him, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think a lot of the early hang up last night was just they had their stuff set up for when the fuel load burned off, and as soon as that fuel load burned off, I told some people in our pit area, I said, oh boy, here he comes.
And I mean, he's already put it on the front row of the Nationals A main before too. So he's shown he can put together a full prelim night at the Nationals. So we're talking about with the draw and stuff like that too. There is definitely luck that's involved there, but fast cars go fast usually, and you can usually pass. Guys won a championship now. He's going to be one to watch if he's showing up.
And with high limit, he's putting it in that wheel draw. I mean, He has gone up there several times to spin the wheel, and I think he's wanting to get to the point where it's kind of like when David Gravel draws the one. You're like, okay, if he starts first, he's in a really good spot, and he's getting there. He's pretty close, but really good to see Austin McCarl run well. And then a couple other really good runners. Kelby Watt goes 22nd to 11th. Really good run for the 1K. And Chris Martin, how about that, man? Chris Martin. He's going to come home with an 8th place finish, his best 410 finish at the Knoxville Raceway. Those boys got some speed. I tell you what, I think Cam, he settles back in. He gets his stuff back rolling with the 360. But Chris Martin, that's a great run for the 44 car. And if I remember at Stewart, I think they ran pretty well as well. So, I mean, good speed for those guys to start the year.
Yeah, Chris has always been really, really good at like the shorter track stuff. It doesn't matter if it's a 360 or a 410. You can see the results on the Sprint Invaders if you go look at him. He's always pretty high up there. If he doesn't win, he wins a lot of those shows. So it's pretty cool to see him get like that good qualifying lap and set himself up good for the night. And they put the whole night together.
Got a pretty good a guy that knows how to win a time or two helping on that car too. When you got the dude in your corner, I think it looks like it's starting to really come together for that team.
In the 2 years of being down in the infield, I was a fan. I was a big fan of everyone. It felt like there's pictures of me 3 years ago in the infield at Knoxville Nationals getting autographs from Kyle Larson, all these guys. And Danny Lazowski was always my favorite when I was super young, because I just love Casey's. This isn't that for Casey's, but I just love Casey's. So whenever I'd see that 6 Casey's car, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Casey's car. So whenever I would go to Knoxville, I loved it. And this week, I'm walking around the pits, and Danny sees me, and he just waves like, hey, Blake, how you doing? And like, I don't remember talking to Dan Lazowski. And in the moment, I'm like, holy cow.
Just fangirling on the inside.
Just said hi. And I still have those moments where I'm a fan and I'm like, dude, like literally, I was like, dude. But I mean, just so cool to see Dan Lazowski, and really cool what they're doing. I just wanted to go through the top 10. So Rico Abreu first, Aaron Reutzel second, Austin McCarl third, Kerry Madsen fourth, Brian Brown. I know he wants more speed, but really good in qualifying, which is Brownie's forte. Finishes fifth. Brent Marks goes +5, comes home sixth. He's won here at Knoxville before. I know they were really looking for speed. I was surprised he wasn't here last week, but they took time to come out and do that practice night on Friday night. So good speed for Brent Marks. Justin Peck, much needed run in seventh. Chris Martin, eighth. Carson McCarl, I thought just an average night, but a good average night for him if he's going to fight for points. He's in 10th. And then Spencer Basin, another guy that I just feel like needed that good run, brings it home in 10th. And those are valuable laps, boys, before we get to the fall. And the Invaders, we call them, it's the best 410 weekly show in the country, easily.
I agree. I
Absolutely.
don't really have much to say to that.
Amen.
I think, yeah, amen, brother.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could disagree with that.
Just a couple miscellaneous things. Track looked good. Duncan's did great. You know, everybody kind of wonders about April. It wasn't all the way up to the wall, Cade, cushion-wise, but still, I think did it thin out up near turn 2? Like, if you're kind of getting up there, it looked like that caught a lot of guys off guard and maybe a little bit off 4. But overall, you'd say pretty good track surface?
Oh, it was a great racetrack. I like that we didn't have the really thick middle that we had last year. It kind of slicked up, and the cushion was up there, but it wasn't quite against the fence, and it was really tricky. Like the middle 1 and 2 up on, like it felt like you were getting up on a curb getting in, and then right in the center it just like completely flattened off, and then it got back up to a curb again and then flattened off out to the turn 4 exit gate or turn 2 exit gate.
Yeah,
it was just definitely really tricky, and then 3 and 4 was super ledged up on entry, which made it fun to run. Definitely a little hairy at times. But yeah, great job by the Duncans. Like you said, everybody gets kind of nervous racing in April and even May. Everybody gets kind of nervous about what kind of track surface we're going to get, and they're just proving why they're the best in the business.
It's almost like they've been doing it for a long time, and maybe we shouldn't be questioning these guys as much as we like to do on the internet.
I don't ever question them. I know they know what they're doing.
What was Friday night like? We talked about racing in rain and mist. Boy, we raced in mist on Friday night. I don't know what that was all about, but I think
it was cold.
It missed it for that last hour. And I swear, I was gonna text the group chat because you went out. I think you went out for a session, and you got stuck behind somebody, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Luke Nellis. Shout out Luke Nellis. But man, you couldn't get around him, and I'm like, oh, I know Kate is so ticked off right now. But there were like puddles a little bit at times. Like it was really wet.
Yeah. And I don't even know that any of that was really from the mist. I think a lot of it was they kind of prepped the track to save it for Saturday. Obviously, they have to have a certain amount of moisture in it, and I think that was all they were doing Friday. But yeah, like you said, running through puddles trying to get around. I don't even know who it was. I definitely wasn't mad, but
you were swatting flies back there off too. I'm like, oh my gosh! I was like, Kate cannot get around this guy.
No, it was kind of funny though. I laughed, and I told my dad, I was like, well, at least we got to see what our car does in dirty air, so that's one good thing from that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I just wanted to clear the air about the broadcast booth. If you look it up, Josh can put it on the page. Eric Arnold got a picture or a video of us last night. So it's really cold in the broadcast booth. And Tony and I like to keep it cold. Last night it got too cold. So Tony's like, hey, why don't you kick on, turn the AC off. So I go over there. This is a very fancy AC machine for a dirt track. I click the button and I go auto. I'm going to go auto. We're just going to leave it. So I sit back down and it feels fine for about 10 minutes. And we're about to roll off for the B, and I feel it get really warm. And I'm like, all right, nice. And I look up, and the entire window is fogged over. You cannot see anything. And I'm like, Tony, window's fogged up. And he's looking at his phone. He doesn't look at. I'm like, Tony, window's fogged up. And he looks up, and this whole thing's fogged over. So he's like, well, go get paper towels. So I run over to the next room, and Tony is literally calling the B feature, and I'm wiping this whole thing down with paper towels. And I am laughing so hard, and he's trying not to laugh. And everybody in the other booth is like, what are they doing in there? Like, it looked like we were hotboxing. But I promise nobody farted, nobody hotboxed. It was literally just the fog.
It's all that hot air up there in that
yeah,
booth
it is.
with you guys.
My goodness. But that was what we did. And while we were up there, we were watching the World of Outlaws races. Quickly touched on those. Jacksonville was on Friday night. Kyle Larson passes Macedo and dominates. It was not quite the racetrack that it was last year. The cushion didn't go all the way up to the wall. Didn't have as many cars this year. I think they only had about 35 or so. But Larson holds off. He has not finished outside the podium in any sprint car start this season. I don't know how many he's run, but Justin Fiedler had that stat today. He has yet to finish outside the podium.
That's why it's only the 57, and that's who they have to beat at the Nationals.
Yeah, that's just putting the 2 and 2 together. And then on Hobstadt, is it Hobstadt or Hobstadt? Because here's the thing, boys. I've heard it both ways, and I don't want to get in trouble. But I've heard
Hobstadt.
That's what I've always called as Hobstadt.
And that's from somebody that lived there. So if he's wrong, so be it.
Brady Bacon's streak at Hobstadt was broken of 2 straight wins. Buddy Kofoid can't get past Sheldon Hodenshield, and Sheldon wins his first Outlaws race since Huset's in August. Much needed win for Sheldon Hodenshield.
Yeah, they kind of got to get going, man. Like we've talked about with gravel. I don't know if anybody can catch them, so I don't know if you're just racing for second at that point. But that car has a lot of speed, and it's just really putting the full night together and keeping it clean. With Sheldon, I think he's a Hodenshield, so they're gonna send it balls out all the time, and whether that's good or bad, it kind of depends on the night.
Depends on the racetrack too.
That too. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is a Sheldon Hodenshield racetrack. I know a lot of people at Knoxville would like to see him run a little bit better at Knoxville, but that's a step in the right direction for the 17 crew. Before we hump into our Jamie Ball interview, it's Blake's Trivias for the boys. We had to come back with another strong one. You guys roll your eyes. I get it. So Rico Abreu wins 2 in a row here to start the season in the 410s here at the Knoxville Raceway. Who was the last driver to win the first 2 races of the 410 season at the Knoxville Raceway, and when did it happen?
Let's hear your guess, Josh.
I don't know. It's probably Brian Brown if I had to guess, and I have no idea what the year was. So I'm just going to say it was 2018.
Cade?
That was my guess too, so I'm going to go 2019.
Cade wins!
Oh.
I was right?
Yeah,
that's pretty damn impressive.
Brian Brown in 2019 won the first 2 races of the season. Austin McCarroll won the first 2 races of the season in 2018.
When did he set the track record? Was that the same year?
I believe so.
It might be.
Yes, because 2019 was the track record.
Yeah.
And then looking all the way back, Doug Wolfgang won, I think, 8 straight to start the season at Knoxville. So
he was pretty decent.
Yeah, he was all right. I think that was the summer that he won, 80-some races, 70-some races.
I believe it.
Shout out Doug Wolfgang. He's coming to Knoxville. Keep an eye out for that. I know Tony and I will be giving more information as it goes. But, boys, we kept it under an hour. I can't believe we did that. Let's hop right into our interview with Jamie Ball, your 2024 track champion. Let's jump right in. Jamie Ball joins the show here on the Knoxville Knights podcast. Jamie Ball, the 2024 Knoxville Raceway 360 track champion, joins us on the podcast this week for Knoxville Knights. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. We're coming off our race last night. I'm just going to quickly run through how your night went. You qualified second. You went from 6th to 3rd in your heat race. You go from 3rd to 6th in the feature, a top 10 to start the 2025 season. Let's talk about your night just to get things rolling here. Let's start with the smoke, because I swear you smoked out the entire grandstand last night. Talk about the smoke a little bit, because it seemed like an issue you were fighting all night long.
Oh, it was terrible. I joked I had white shoes and a brand new suit on, so why wouldn't it? All night long, just couldn't keep heating the engine, and about every 3rd lap or so, every time we went out, it just would pour some out the breather and be just enough to coat the floor pan and the side of the car and just make a giant mess. It was the longest, nastiest car wash I've ever had today. So everything ran good. Everything was fine. Just got to be able to keep some heat into it. So looking forward to these better temperatures, hopefully, to come soon.
Well, how tonight's going to go, Josh and myself and Cade all kind of have questions, so we'll just kind of rotate around. We'll start with Josh, and then we'll go to Cade, and then we'll circle back to me, and we'll just kind of work it back around. So, Josh, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So let's take a step back, go a week previous, back to the Outlaw weekend. You did start off pretty strong. You were 6th in hot laps, timed in 9th in your group, and then it looked like a little bit of a struggle thereafter. Talk through your night a little bit there, and what you learned and what you need going forward in the 410.
Yeah, we got a fresh motor from Charlie Fisher, so timed good and had a really good start in the heat race. And kind of the last thing I expected, I followed gravel in on the bottom, and he parked it on the bottom. I don't know if he, just wanted to make sure he hit it because I run the bottom fairly good, but about ran into the back of him. So then I shot up the track and got balled on the right rear and blew through the cushion and got passed by Baylog and Garrett, and then just spent the rest of the time in dirty air and ended up 8th because went to the top and let Schoenberg get by, which need to get better with knowing my formats because I believe every spot there was worth 4 starting positions in the B main. I thought it all went back to your time. So a little bit my fault there, kind of just being dumb at the end. And B main made some changes, felt good. Ended up 12th and still was an okay showing. Like I was looking at it and there's 45 out of the 65 guys there don't go to work on Monday. So just it's just hard to compete with those guys, and the car count and the quality of people were outstanding.
For sure. And this actually does tie a little bit into our fan question. We'll get that out of the way up front here too. So James Collins, we did not see, going back to this past weekend now, you did not have the 410 out. What's that going to look like in 2025? He did ask what your plans are for the 410 and if you ever see yourself running that full time.
First off, so I plan to do double duty every night this year. And on Tuesday, I woke up and couldn't feel my right arm this week. Had a pinched nerve and spent all Tuesday with a completely numb right arm. Went to Acme Chiropractic in Ankeny, got a little bit of work done, and was told that I have some problems with my C4, C5, and C6 vertebrae in my neck. And so I had a pinched nerve, and he got me kind of back going a little bit. And I've pretty much raced actually all on Saturday with just my left arm. Use the right arm for basically tear-offs only. I've got full mobility again, but have no strength. I mean, I can't even tighten my belts with my right arm. So that's why we didn't bring the 410 out. We practiced on Friday and just didn't feel comfortable enough being able to handle both cars. And with 360 being the primary one, just decided to focus on that and figured I could muster up 5 laps for hot laps time trials, 7 laps for a heat race, and 18 for a feature. So it kind of to be determined, I guess. I've got a 3-month plan with this chiropractor in Ankeny to get rehabbed up, and he says I'm young enough and in good enough shape that I should be able to do it without surgery. So just trying to get strength back in it. I mean, I can't even do a push-up right now. I was in great shape until literally on Tuesday. Just thought I woke up and slept on it wrong or something, and instead of it getting better, it got worse.
Jeez.
So we'll see on the 410.
Yeah, hopefully you can rehab that and get feeling better, especially you said about 3 months. So that puts you right in a pretty important time.
Appointments this week, so I'm hoping by Friday I get a little bit back to normal, because it was a little unnerving every once in a while trying to run the cushion, being like, I don't really have a right hand here to catch anything. So,
Jeez.
That kind of brews up another question for me. I know you've had some fairly bad crashes and some pretty substantial injuries. Does that kind of linger every now and then? Like, is there anything that you really notice that every now and then some of that stuff kind of comes back up?
Yeah, and I think that's part of what I have going on right now. From my crash in 2012 when I got life flighted, I shattered my elbow. So I currently have a titanium plate and 7 screws that hold my elbow together. I don't have the physical bone structure of an elbow. And with that, I have a really tight right thumb and right hand in general. So kind of get arm pump there every once in a while, just from the construction and all the trauma of that. And that's kind of where they think that a lot of this stuff that I currently got going on is just from that impact that I took over there. They pretty much told me that my right side is, I think they said 27 millimeters lower than my left side. So I'm like, oh my God, I guess over here. So I got reverse stagger on somewhat.
That was what I was just about to say.
Yeah. So it just, I've been pretty fortunate. I work out a lot and was doing jiu-jitsu the last couple of years to just make something different than just your normal cardio or whatever, and you always try to put a good focus on that. So, I mean, I definitely think that one particular crash has led to it, and some of the other ones definitely didn't help.
Interesting. We'll get back to racing here in a little bit. I just wanted to ask you, you are a strong man of faith, and I know a lot of people know that, and I respect it greatly. Has faith always been a part of your life, or is that something that, some people, they don't have it, and then something happens and then they find it along the way? And I know it drives you. I know it helps you every single day. I was just curious on that, because I know you're a big voice when it comes to that in the infield and in sprint car racing. There's not a ton of that, it feels like, but you're a strong beacon for that. And I'm just curious how that journey kind of looked for you, and has it always been there?
Oh, no, it hasn't always been there. I mean, I grew up Catholic. My mom meant very well, but until I was 18, I went to Catholic school, but Catholic classes and church and everything. Kind of fell away from it for a while, and then when I met my wife, she was looking for a church up here and found Celebrate Church, which I was familiar with. I'd had a friend that lost his life at a young age, and was the only time I'd been to Celebrate, but his funeral was the only funeral that I left feeling better than when I went in. And normally with funerals, you don't get that. And that was where I met Judd Nelson, who's a Fair Board member and pastor at Celebrate Church. And when my dad had his business stuff go down in 2020 and White Lightning Motorsports went away, I was kind of at a crossroads where I was trying to do life myself, and it just wasn't working. We live in a fallen world, and there's so many negative aspects of things out there that there was something missing, and I didn't know what it was, but I had enough comfort with Judd that I went into his office that day and surrendered and gave myself up and just said, show me the way, show me the light. And he has, and he's been a huge mentor of mine. He married JC and I down in Florida, and just been a huge part. And I truly believe that's part of my purpose of why I've been given these dreams and talents for racing, is to be a brighter light at the racetrack in general, where, I'll be honest, we all suffer from greed and competition and jealousy of what other people do and accomplish. So it's really helped me the last 4 years. It's changed not my life off the track, but also on the track, because I just roll with the punches better. I know, I didn't plan on being injured this week. That wasn't exactly how I was looking to start my year, but there's always a purpose in the end. And I know every trial and tribulation I've been through personally has, when I look back now on it, has led to something better. So looking forward to see what it all has entailed.
Powerful stuff, man. Moving back to the racing side of things here, how would you classify your season opener? You did go second in qualifying. You moved back a little bit. You were extremely consistent last year. Do you feel like what you had this past weekend is getting you off the right foot, or do you feel like you're going to need just a little bit more, seeing the kind of field that we have in 2025 in the 360 class? It almost feels a little wide open. We kind of had the consensus here picking you as the championship favorite, especially after just how consistent you were last year. What is it going to take to repeat?
I think consistency is still the goal. There's a lot of fast guys. I think there's, definitely Clint Garner is going to be my top challenger in terms of consistency. He's that was the way he did a lot of his years. But I think we got off to a good start. I was very happy to qualify second to Reutzel, of course, but just to be close, I think qualifying is what's really important with how they do bonus points and how it just sets your night up. It makes your heat race somewhat irrelevant. If you can be top 2 or 3, your heat, you just kind of need to maintain, go forward a little bit, you'll be in the invert. And then in the feature, we were good. I got off to an awesome start, shot out to second right off the bat, and was just a little free. The track kind of took me by surprise. I rode my bike out there, I think it was after the 410B, and there was lots of grip all over the place. And when we rolled out 20 minutes later after that pro sprint feature, there wasn't much of anything to get a hold of it. I think, Cade, you were in the 360 Nationals feature last year. It was a pretty similar track to that. Yeah. To where I felt like I didn't have a whole lot of option but to run the curb. And did that, and Tasker passed me on the bottom. Then I go to the bottom, and Reutzel passed me on the top. And I'm like, man, I don't know. And I got my wing pulled back in the middle, kind of developed a little bit from guys running the bottom, and started to roll back forward. Got to Randall's bumper pretty close for fourth, and then it just went away, and I just faded that one spot to Garner at the end. So definitely got to tighten things up a little bit and not be as free so that I don't have to run the wing and the trunk. But I think in general we'll be okay. Consistency is the key, and although going backwards there's not great, but it's not the end of the world.
I just want to quickly jump in. You said you had your wing all the way back. When Tony and I are calling races, like Tony, the only time we'll point or talk about something is if a wreck is happening, just to get their attention. And Tony points. I think it was you going into 3 or something. I thought you were wrecking, and he's like, Jamie's got that thing in the trunk. And he was just, and I looked over, I'm like, man, he does. You had a good battle with Clint, though, all night. And I think that was what I said in my recap last night. I'm like, that was it's week 1, but those are very important battles you have here early in the season. So that was pretty fun to watch. But that thing was in the trunk. We could tell.
Yeah, when the race was over, I looked up, and I mean, it couldn't go back any further. It was against the very front of the rails. So it was good, but I just need to be better because that can't be where I find my balance at.
Yeah, and something else we kind of got to think of is, especially as far as the points go, out of the top 10, I think there was only 5 guys that were actually in the 360 points. So you finishing 5th really wasn't that bad of a night.
No, and that's kind of what we talked about. I mean, top 5 is my goal every night. Take the opportunities that you get to win or run top 3. But I know there's lots of good guys like you and Grinendike and Garner and Giles. There's a lot of experience in the class, and really ever since COVID, I feel like the top 15 all have good equipment. We all have the hard-hitting $50,000 plus engines, and everybody does their homework, and it's not, even though we're all kind of working men, it's not as easy as the working men class used to be.
Let's talk about your 360 championship a little bit. I'll kind of group Josh's question in with mine for the most part, but looked like a lot of relief last year, to finally cross it off the list. In dominating fashion, all things considering. I mean, you had it figured out for the majority of that back half of the season. You had 1 DNF, I think, and you can afford that when you had a lead like that. But talk about that championship, because I think it was one of those where everyone's just happy for you. You finally got it done. Reminds me of Justin Allgaier last year when he won the Xfinity title. It was just one of those guys that had kept pushing and finally come away with it. What was the 360 title like? And then how has that changed this year? Is there a lot of pressure to repeat, or is it kind of like, we got one under our belt, let's just do it again, and maybe you're a little bit more relaxed?
Yeah, it was cliche, but a dream come true. I mean, I'm 34 years old, and I've dedicated my life to sprint car racing since I was 20. So, I mean, I've never lived out of this zip code. I don't want to be anywhere else. Knoxville Raceway is the best. And to be able to do it finally after being so close, I think if you go back and look at stats, I think I've ran 2nd and 3rd by less than 100 points 4 times. And I've been 2nd in Sprint Invader points 3 times. So I think there's like 7 times that I ran 2nd in points. So just always been close, but never had that kind of consistency that I needed. And, really it's just credit to my dad and Jacob. They bust their butt. My dad manages my race team and I manage his business, and it's a good trade. We make money and cars go fast and nothing falls off. So it's, just a really good dynamic that we have, and everybody on my team last year and the few years before was just happy to be there. Nobody gets paid. I've had paid crew guys in the past, and the non-paid crew guys, they're more joyful to be around than anyone, because it's how we all started. Whether you were a fan in the stands or a crew member in the pits, you did it because you wanted to do it, not because you had to do it. And last year was just really good. I mean, other than that DNF when I stuffed it in the wall while leading off of 2, you said not a big deal and you could afford that, but my dad would very much disagree with that. And little side story of that, the next day after stuffing it in the wall, my dad was pretty upset with me. And that was when I found out that my wife was pregnant. We were having a baby. Well, I couldn't tell my dad, so I come into the shop on Sunday and I'm like cloud 9, bubbly as heck, just happy as can be, and he was mad as could be. And when we told him a couple months later, he was like, he kind of put all the dots together and was like, well, that really makes sense. I wondered why you were so happy after stuffing it in the wall 12 hours ago. And it was just that kind of added to the whole year, because last year was absolutely outstanding. I mean, JC and I had been trying to have a baby for a couple years, and we finally had that on the horizon. She went and did point chasing and basically ran the World of Outlaw Tour of cowboy mounted shooting, and she was world champion cowgirl. So number one in the world for that. And then we sealed up the championship there. So 2024 was as great as it could come. I mean, there was nothing else that I've ever dreamed of, and it all happened in 12 months.
Pretty special year.
Yeah. And then for the last part of your question, no pressure. I mean, I feel like the nice part after getting a championship is you've done it once, so you know you can do it, you know you're capable. And we haven't changed anything. I've got all the same guys. I've got Fisher race engines, Maxim chassis, Vortex wings, Kaiser wheels, CSI shocks. I mean, all the same stuff. So other than Hoosier tires changing nonstop and throwing you for a loop, I should be able to duplicate a lot of what we did last year, I think.
Yeah, and 9 top 6 finishes and 13 races is pretty crazy. And also, too, you mentioned you're only 34. You're 10th all time in 360 wins at the Knoxville Raceway. You're in pretty good company, I'd say. You got guys like Jake Peters, Justin Henderson, Ryan Giles that have, at that same level right now. You're someone, kind of like all of us here. We've been going to Knoxville forever. What's that mean to you?
It's huge. I mean, my dad had 3 in his career. So, I mean, growing up, I thought that was amazing, just to be able to do what I've done, but to be so blessed to have the people that have helped me get here. For the first 10 years, I didn't own anything. I was blessed and didn't have to pay the bills. Now I pay the bills, but I've got an amazing set of sponsors that help us get there. And yeah, when you look at those names, I mean, Jake Peters, when I was sitting in Section J, that guy was like Steve Kinzer to me.
Yep.
He couldn't be beat. Like, consistency and driving through the field was what he did with ease. I mean, he made it look simple. So to be able to have that many wins and to be up there with, a lot of those guys, even like Billy Alley, who I looked up to, is just incredible. And I never really thought about it, but to be on that list and to be on year 16 of racing is incredible. A lot of people can't afford to do it or can't get one win. So to be able to have 10 is cool, and to be able to do it as long as I have is great. I did that Dirt Vision interview last week, and the guy kept saying that I was working on 2 decades of racing, and he really made me feel old, because I'm like, whoa, man, we're on 16 years. Not 20. 2 decades is 20 to me. So guess I'm a veteran now, not a kid.
Yeah, right.
Everything always rounds up, too.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
Let's kind of talk paint schemes. I know you had the Lightning McQueen one, which didn't really seem to be your best luck car.
That's probably why I've got some of these problems.
As far as paint schemes go, like, what's your favorite like weekly one, and then what was your favorite like one-off nationals car kind of stuff that you had?
Stuff that I've done?
Yeah.
Oh, the Lightning McQueen was the coolest, but it provides the most nightmares that I've ever had, because I got upside down 3 times in 6 days at Knoxville in that with Tatnall, Clyde Knipp, and then just something broke on the Hard Knocks night. And by the end of that week, I literally couldn't walk. You know how it is when you jam your knees when you hit the wall, and it was terrible. But probably my favorite one, when we won the prelim night at Nationals, we did that Amico throwback look, and it was just cool and fun. Like, I don't know, back in the day, you never saw 360 Nationals have anything fun. It was just like lackluster basic stuff, that was kind of served for your 410 Nationals type thing. So we've done that, and the radioactive one, they're both pretty close. I looked up to those guys. The 1990s of sprint car racing is the era to me, because it's when I fell in love with it.
That's cool. Let's talk about the 87, since he's the guy that you've been chasing. Qualifying was fun last night, because it was just up and down between you two when you both went out in the same group. Does he make you guys better? Because, he is quickly, Aaron, when he's in a 360, he's the guy to beat. And I've always thought the nights that when he runs and he doesn't win in a 360, it's an upset in a way, because you're like, man, he is the guy. Has he made you guys better and pushed you guys more the last couple of years, especially? And do you and Aaron ever talk? The fact that you guys are like the top 2 here so far, is that a thing? Or, just tell me about that, either relationship, if there is one, and then, how he makes you guys better.
He absolutely makes us better. I'll credit him, but also can't leave out Chase Randall and Garrett Williamson. Yeah. 2 years ago, those guys changed how the weekly 360 program was. I've said it a million times in an interview, probably sound like a broken record, but my first few wins, you just start on the pole, get out to a lead, and you just kind of cruise. Nothing overly crazy. You didn't have to be on kill mode. Well, now if you're not on kill mode, doesn't matter if you're racing our normal weekly guys or those 3 guys, you get your doors blown off in 2 laps. The way that he charges and how perfect his car is absolutely has made us have to go do our homework a little bit more. And yeah, when he's there, I mean, you absolutely know he's the guy to beat. You know, even practice night, I think he didn't roll his car out till like 8 o'clock, and he went 3/10 faster than anybody on that session, and just made it look easy. But he should. He's, in my opinion, a top 3 talent in the entire world, and he always has been. And now he's got the good opportunities, and he's back on the road, and hopefully leave a little bit more wins for us local guys. But he makes us better, and like I think 360 Nationals shows that with how good our local guys did last year in general, because you're racing the top tier competition. You know, he's the guy to beat even at 360 Nationals. So if we can keep up with him or be close, you know, it feels good to be top 5, top 10 at 360 Nationals when the big dogs come to town that's normally dominated by 410 guys.
We touched on I'm sorry, go ahead.
As for relationship, Aaron and I used to be friends 2016, 2017, and had a little bit of a falling out back then, and we're acquaintances now, but we're not friends.
Happens in racing, man. It's cutthroat out there. Kind of touching back on the double duty stuff, you know, both of you guys. So this is kind of for both of you, and also with Reutzel. And you know, usually when they're there, they brought both cars, so it's a pretty busy night. Like I said, question for both of you, Jamie. I guess you can go first. How does that change your night when you're running both? And can it be a distraction when things are just kind of going back and forth and you don't have a whole lot of downtime?
It's a distraction if something goes wrong, but we've kind of all set the tone that we run 360 for points and 410s for fun and money. So if something with the 410 would go wrong, we just park it and focus on the 360. We work really hard in the shop to prepare, and I think that's the key, whether it be tires, spares, helmets with enough tear-offs, like we're ready to go, and we've got enough help that it doesn't really distract. For me as a driver, I think it helps drastically. There's never a time that I'm not on the track for longer than 30 minutes. Keeps me fresh, keeps me going. And I always kind of laugh. I'm like, well, if I can hit the bottom in a 410, I'm pretty sure I can hit it in a 360. So it just kind of keeps everybody sharp. You know, you don't get that downtime like last night. I mean, short of cleaning the oil up every single time that we came in. Like it was an hour and a half every time between hitting the track. So just kind of got bored and watched Dirt Vision in the trailer, I guess, for the most part.
You feel the same way, Cade? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was telling Maggie today, the biggest thing that I noticed is I never really have time to get nervous. You're just out of one car and right in the other. So it's kind of chaos, it seems like. But like Jamie said, if you have your stuff together and things go smooth, it's not any sort of a distraction. I mean, yeah, last night we had what you were talking about, one of those nights where there's stuff that goes wrong. So that wasn't really a great introduction, I don't think, but it all ended up all right. And yeah, it definitely wears you out, though. I'm tired today.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a lot of laps, and that is a good point that you brought up. Like, I feel like I can talk myself in and out of qualifying where I want to run in qualifying with the more time I have. Where when I don't have time, I just stick to the same plan that I always do and go. So us drivers are our own worst enemy.
I agree 1,000%.
That's cool. How big is your race team? You talked about your race team a little bit. I have the belief that they're one of the chillest groups in the entire garage or in the entire work area. Because when I'm walking by, they're just hanging out. They're sitting in lawn chairs and whatnot, and that's always a good group to talk to. Talk about that, because I love walking past your guys' cars because it just seems like you're having a good time. I mean, you're working, but you're enjoying what Knoxville has to offer. Explain that a little bit.
Like I said, everybody's happy to be there. I bring probably more crew guys than most people. We bring 9 of them. Basically go through a pit card every single night their way. And like I said, they don't get paid, but I pay their way in. And it's just awesome because it's made up of my mom and dad, then my good buddy Jacob, Brandon, and his son Hayden. Hayden kind of shoots video for us now, get a little bit of clips for social media. Then my cousin Tyler, who works for us at Higher View, and then one of my dad's old crew guys, Kelly Carlson, and his wife Glenda. And it's just family. You know, I don't have a ton of personal family, but my friends on the race team, they became my family. You know, they're closer than most people that share the same DNA as me. And it's just fun because they all look at it as an opportunity to get to go hang out with your friends and do something cool, you know, and it doesn't cost them any money, just costs them some of their time, but they all have the same drive and desires to achieve the same things that we did last year and have fun in between. And if we don't, you know we all did our part and had a good time doing it and made memories. There's a lot of sacrifice that comes from racing. Like I said, I'm only child, but I get to be with my mom and dad every weekend, even at the age that I'm at. And now my wife and daughter and in-laws sit in the suite and come down, and it's just a family affair that's different because I own the race team, so I can't get fired. I mean, I can fire myself, I guess, but there's just there's expectations, but there's no pressure.
Yeah. Shout out Brandon. When I first met him, the only reason I met him was because he works at Grandview, where I went to college, and so he works in the library or the bookstore, I should say. So whenever we would go in and get our mail, he's the guy that brings you your mail. And I remember one day I'm sitting there and his desk is in front and he's got a magnet of your car. But I didn't put the two and two together. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's Jamie Ball's car. And then I see him in the infield like a couple weeks later. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. It's a great crew. It's fun to talk to you guys when we get a chance.
So I guess we don't want to take too much of your time here tonight. To kind of round things out here, what does 2025 and maybe beyond look like? I know we've talked about you're a little beat up for only being 34. You know, you're new dad. What does this year look like? And do you have plans to branch out? You've mentioned Sprint Invaders, you know, your previous results there. And is that something that you look to do maybe this year or in the future, or are you pretty cool with just you know, kind of sticking around Knoxville?
Plan for this year and really for long term probably really won't change too much. I mean, my shop's a mile and a half from Knoxville Raceway. If I can do double duty every night at Knoxville, I can do 2 races in one calendar night, so it doesn't take me away from Higher View or Remax selling real estate or JC and Journey. I love racing, but I don't want to race on the road. I don't want to race 7 nights a week. There's a lot I want to do in life and things that I feel just as accomplished as racing makes me feel off the track. But if I could do double duty and then kind of always race for the championship in 360, I don't ever plan to do 410 points or nothing. Just kind of be a 360 guy racing 410 to race for money and kind of a challenge. And then at the end of the year, we kind of always have a goal, especially this year, to run 15 or 20 races after Knoxville's over. I've got some help that wants us to come race 4 Crown at Eldora. James Fisher said he'd help me out there. He's put Cole Duncan and Joey Saldana on the pole at Kings Royal. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to do it, that's probably the best opportunity I could get.
No pressure.
Mike Kleck Paving and Seal Coatings offered to help me get to Port Royal for the Tuscarora 50 this year. And became pretty good friends with Danny Dietrich. And he said he'd help me. And then Heath Moyle, that's crew chief for Brent Marks, said he'd make sure that I could at least go fast and turn left. So bigger track stuff is where I'm comfortable at. So if we could go kind of check off those bucket list items, have fun in the process, maybe make the show, nothing too crazy expectation wise, but just branch out a little bit here or there and have some fun and make the part-time crew feel like full-timers for a while.
There you go. Port looks badass, and I know Eldora is, so that sounds like that should be a pretty exciting summer for you.
It's awesome. Well, Jamie, we appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck here in 2025, and stay safe out there. Well, let's hope for the right side to heal up a little bit. Let's keep you in one piece.
Yeah, we're still tentative, like if we'll do double duty this weekend or not. We'll kind of see what Friday brings. Everything we're done already today, so both cars are ready to go and see what it brings and hopefully get better, but definitely keep health and 360 as top priority.
Absolutely. Jamie, we appreciate your time. Thanks for chatting with us here today.
Yep, thank you guys, and thanks for representing Knoxville. Like I said, I'm glad to have a Knoxville podcast out there.
Big thank you again to Jamie Ball for taking the time to chat with us tonight. And what's up next, boys? We got the Knoxville Championship Series weekly racing again here on Saturday, May 3rd. Get your butts there if you're in the area. If not, it is going to be live on Dirt Vision. Also, too, if you're in the central Iowa region, weather might be a little touchy today, so make sure you stay safe. Keep an eye on the weather. It could be a little crazy out there. Otherwise, like I said in the beginning, make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If not, make sure you hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Follow myself. I'm at Josh _Gerlach, excuse me, on X. Blake is at Blake_Walker8, and Cade is at Cade Higday. And then on the show, we're at Knoxville Nights on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and then Knoxville Nights with no O on X. That'll do it, guys. It's been a fun run here. We're not sure who we're going to have next week, but make sure you leave us a comment or something if you have a suggestion for who you'd like to see on next week's episode. Otherwise, appreciate you guys listening and watching. We will see you next week.